Hey, everybody, I'm so excited. Join us for a fascinating interview for the upcoming DeKalb Symphony Orchestra benefit concert recital with Dr. Alexander Wasserman. Woohoo! Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So this is such a delight. Dr. Wasserman has generously donated his time and is performing a benefit fundraiser for the DeKalb Symphony, which is so appreciated. And Dr. Wasserman, you did perform with the DSO. Was it last year? I know we played with you.
A Mozart D minor, I think it was in 2019 or 2018 maybe. A couple years before that, there was Liszt A major concerto.
Fabulous. We have an upcoming recital we wanted to let you know about. It's going to be Sunday, July 17th, 3 o'clock, Dunwoody Baptist Church. And Dr. Wasserman here to tell us all about it. And before we do that, I just want to share a little bit of Dr. Wasserman's bio. So you are an assistant professor at Reinhardt University, groovy. And you've had many students in your studio competing and doing very well in competitions all over the place, which is fabulous. Let's see, you went to USC and you got your DM from, was it Cleveland?
Yeah.
So tell us about this upcoming performance, why you picked these two pieces. Tell us a little bit about it for people who don't know them. You're performing the Brahms 3 Intermezzos, Opus 117, and one of my favorite pieces, Mussorgsky Pictures at an Exhibition, which I didn't know could be performed on piano because that is an orchestral piece. Tell us about these two pieces for people who don't know about them.
Sure. Well, I picked these two pieces. First of all, time-wise, I think it kind of works out. It's about 45 minutes of actual playing time, but I wanted to talk about the pieces as well and kind of, have it be a little bit more interactive because I think that they're interesting pieces. The first is the Brahms Opus 117 pieces. Brahms wrote a number of these, what we call late pieces, towards the end of his life. And in terms of piano music, he wrote, the most well-known are the Opus 116 pieces, 117, 118, and 119. Of course, he wrote a lot of other piano music, but those four sets tend to be kind of lumped together as the late pieces. And there's sort of autumnal quality to the music. You kind of get this sense that Brahms was mature and very comfortable in his style. It's different than the earlier Brahms. It's a little bit more philosophical, maybe kind of deeper music.
Play us like one of your favorite phrases. You got your beautiful Shigeru kawaii piano right there. Fabulous. You are a Shigeru kawaii artist. Play us a part that you find the most challenging.
With the Brahms pieces, rather than opening with a big bang, these are very introspective pieces. And I typically like to open up recitals with more introspective music. I kind of just like the way that it sets the tone for the rest of the concert. And these three are particularly interesting. This is aggressively darker in a way. The first one opens, well, we all know, right? This lullaby thing that Brahms wrote. Any of you listening did not know that that was Brahms that wrote that melody. It was. The first one is also like a lullaby, the first of the intermezzi. So it opens.
Yeah, that is very
lullaby-like, right?
Lullaby-ish. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
So and so it starts with this kind of lullaby, kind of warm sound, but then as the pieces go on, they get a little bit more. The word that always comes to my mind is darker, and start to probe some emotional depths. So the second one begins. Like this, and it has this kind of wandering feeling to it. And then by the time we get to the third one, get this kind of darker sound to it. For me, these three pieces, it's almost as if we're like reading Brahms's journal or diary or something, you know, very, very personal music. So I chose these Brahms pieces because they contrast greatly with the next piece, which is Pictures at an Exhibition.
Oh, Pictures of the Exhibition. For those of you who don't know, there's the orchestral part is wonderful. It's got little clips of different instrumentation to convey an impression of different pieces of art at a museum, which is great.
With the Brahms, we have very personal music, very personally emotive music. And then with the Pictures at an Exhibition, it's less about the personal expression and more about expressing these sorts of scenes and images that Mussorgsky saw at the exhibition of paintings.
Absolutely. One of my favorites is it the chickens?
The ballet of the chickens and the unhatched shells. So it goes on like that.
Well, the orchestra, the violins love that one. It's a lot of fun.
I'm sure. Actually, interestingly enough, Mussorgsky wrote this piece originally for piano, but it's most often heard in its orchestral arrangement that Ravel did. Ravel's orchestration of it, that's very popular, but it was originally a piano piece. One of the challenges in performing this is that Mussorgsky was not a great pianist himself. And so he wrote for the instrument in a rather awkward way. It's brilliant music, but physically, pianistically, it's rather uncomfortable sometimes to play. It's worth it, but it's certainly a little bit awkward. It doesn't have that sort of pianistic finesse that the Brahms has.
Oh, I didn't know it was originally written for piano. Because when you're an orchestral player, you think everything was written for orchestra first, and then transcribed to everybody else after that.
Written for the piano. So.
Doesn't the world revolve around the symphony? But yeah. So, what would you say is the hardest part of the Mussorgsky? The part that technically requires the most work?
Well, that's an easy one to answer. There's a movement called Limoges, supposed to depict the sort of chattering excitement of the marketplace. And this is a great example of this kind of awkward writing. I'll play just a little bit of it. And it goes on like this for like 4 pages with this very difficult, this kind of accompaniment, which is really, really hard to do, and takes, many hours of practice.
I'm sure you could give that left hand just to your students and make an etude or something.
Exactly.
Or strengthening of the hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's rather challenging. And there are other spots in it that are written in such an awkward way that they have to sort of be rearranged so that, for example, let's see. This movement now may not seem like that big of a deal right there, but the way that it was written is a big deal, actually, the way that that Mussorgsky had initially written it. So I had to change it so that some of the things that Mussorgsky said to be played with the right hand, or I actually playing with the left hand and vice versa, and kind of rearranged it so that it all comes out sounding the same, but it feels a little bit more comfortable under the hand.
Oh, wow. I didn't know pianists could do that. Violinists talk about fingerings all the time, but I didn't know pianists could like swap hands. And you look like you've got a reasonably large reach. Yes, you can tell I'm a violinist. This is fabulous. What inspires you the most in your concert, your performance career? Like what moves through you? What is your biggest aspiration for music and you in the world? What's possible now? Just for the audience to get to know you a little bit better as a humanoid.
Sure. I think the best way I can answer that question is to say that I like to think about the feeling that I get when I go to a concert that really excites me, where I feel like time kind of stands still and I'm completely focused on the performer. I love that. And so I like to go to concerts a lot. I not only just play concerts, I go to them frequently. And so those concerts where I feel particularly connected to the artist And I feel like the rest of the world kind of fades away and everything is focused on just that in the moment. That's what I try to provide for my audiences.
Do you notice in your experience as a listener and a performer that something happens when people actually know you a little bit better versus if you come in, let's say you fly into a city, no one knows you very well and you perform? Is that experience different than when you actually know people in the audience, they know you and you're performing more for them?
Sure. I'd say there are pluses and minuses to both. So obviously, if I know the people in the audience, there's an instant connection right there. So that's great. Although on the other hand, sometimes you feel that there's more of an expectation from the audience.
A little bit more pressure.
You want to let them down, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas if I fly into a city and I play a concert and I feel very anonymous, that can be a lot easier in some ways. And sometimes that's exciting in its own right.
Yeah, you're almost like a blank slate. There's no preconceived idea of who you are other than they read your bio. But with these community events, people get to actually know you and maybe get a sense of, the type of music you like, your philosophy on teaching. I'm sure your students will love to come to this concert and hear their teacher performing. And maybe some of them studied this piece themselves.
I think I've assigned one of the intermezzi from the Brahms set to one of my students, but I don't think I've never assigned any of the other pieces. Probably because the Brahms pieces, I feel maybe they're not the best pieces for teenagers to be playing. They require, and this is something that's impossible to really explain how it works, but they kind of require a little bit more life experience. Like I said, they were written later in Brahms's life, and I feel that as you accumulate more experience in your life, you can bring more of that music. On the other hand, the Mussorgsky, while it doesn't require that same sort of emotional and psychological maturity, the Mussorgsky is so awkward and difficult in very awkward ways that I think you also need to have a lot of experience, having played a lot of piano repertoire, to really, really understand the instrument, to be able to feel comfortable with that.
Well, and I think Brahms is a composer. I think it's sort of recognized. There's a certain gravitas, maturity across all Brahms, violin, everything that is not typically something you would assign a younger student to, just because of the nature of the music. So I can appreciate that it is something that is more musically mature, or it requires a little bit more maturity, life experience. So you're not just playing the notes, that there's something that comes out from within that can only come from, I don't know, maybe knocks in life, who knows, but yeah. So everybody come out and listen to this amazing recital. It's Sunday, July 17th at Dunwoody Baptist Church. You can go to tix.com and order tickets. As a member of DSO, we are so appreciative of you doing this in terms of fundraising for the orchestra. We hope we get to play with you again real soon.
Well, I'm happy to do this. It's my pleasure. I love these pieces. I love just sharing this music with other people, and I'm glad we could work out a date to make this happen.
Absolutely. Come experience the joy, get out of the house, be with humanoids, and be in the moment of live music. Nothing else is quite like it. Thank you so much. Bye.